lengguwahe, nagkakaisa at nananatiling solido. Ito ang INC Radio.
Palaging konektado sa lahat ng mga tao. This is INCRadio. Anywhere in the world, oh, we are always together, connected to everyone. Life will be better.
This is INC Radio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
You are listening and watching to INC Radio. This time, live broadcast is coming all the way from Washington, D.C. Magandang gabi po dito sa atin at good morning po dyan sa Washington, D.C. Yes, Sister Darlene, good morning.
Good morning to everyone here in North America, or really in Eastern Hemisphere. And hello to, or was it Western Hemisphere? Sorry, my geography is off. And then hello and good evening to all of those who are tuning in there in the Philippines. We hope that you enjoyed today's program.
Yes po, and we'll be watching your broadcast this morning and we'll be turning over to INC Radio, Washington, D.C.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to INC Radio Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio. I'm Sister Darlene Nadine Dizan. I will be your host today. And today we're talking about faith amplified, discussing how someone else's faith, their experience, or their journey has strengthened our own faith. And our own convictions. So we have a really wonderful topic today, and we hope everyone will be able to share their own personal experiences as well there in our YouTube live chat. Speaking of our YouTube live chat, let's go ahead and quickly greet those who have joined in this morning. So we also have Sister Lara J, who is tuning in. We have Sister Naidel Ibarra Carabaos says good morning. We have Sister Grace, Sister Elisa, Sister Roselle, and Brother Ivan. Good morning to everyone who has tuned in so far on INC Radio Washington, D.C. Now, let's go ahead and jump into our topic. Let me go ahead and quickly introduce you our guest for today. She was here a few weeks ago, and hopefully everyone is excited to have her back on the show. Good morning, Sister Lara J. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Sister Darlene. How are you doing this fine morning?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm also doing great. Excited to be back on Unstoppable INC Radio, Washington, D.C.
Well, I'm so glad that you feel just as excited. We're really looking forward to the stories you're going to be able to share today. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. As we're talking about Faith Amplified and how someone else's journey has inspired our own. Whose faith or journey or experience in your life has strengthened your faith, and how?
I love this question. And luckily, I was blessed to be born into a family full of officers who were really my role models growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
we always lived pretty far from the chapel, from like the nearest chapel. So one of the things like growing up that we just always had to do was leave the house like 3 hours early for worship service.
Right.
And that's something that's super influential in my faith and in just the way that I like to always be early to the chapel today. But also with us all being officers growing up, I practically grew up in choir practice with my parents and my grandparents on my mom's
Oh.
side, at least. Yeah. So, my mom and dad were both when I was younger, they were both choir members, and then my grandparents on my mom's parents were also both choir members growing while I was growing up.
Mhm.
Now they're my dad and my grandparents are deacons and deaconess, and then my mom is a secretary, and I believe she's also a finance officer because of like the needs in their locales. But growing up, we all performed choir together. And once I was baptized and able to join the senior choir, I was able to perform by their side as well. So all of those things and all of those memories, those core memories have been very impactful and influential in my faith and in my love for my duties today.
That's awesome. I think that's so wholesome to be able to hear how multi generations were performing together alongside each other in choir. So, how did that make you feel? Being able to perform not only with your parents but with your grandparents, and I think you mentioned a while back that you also performed with, was it other family members?
Yes, 100%. So, I definitely especially in CWS, we performed with like our cousins, my cousins, and other aunts and uncles and stuff like that. So it's definitely a different experience being in the same locale and performing in the same choir as, your family. It makes those hymns about family. As for me and my family, it makes those hymns hit harder when, you're sitting next to your mother, you're sitting next to your
Mhm.
and then your grandparents are on the other side of the pew. It's just that sense of togetherness, and it makes it so much more special to just perform and share a worship service with them and share these experiences with them,
Mhm.
especially at a young age. I think I was about, like, 14 or 15 when I started
Mhm.
performing, so, in those early Binhi years, it was definitely impactful to have experiences like that with my family.
Well, that's wonderful. And I think that's going to lead us to our next question. But I before we move on to that part, I would like to go ahead and ask our main studio tech to go ahead and put up the pictures that we have from Sister Lara J, just to kind of put a face to a name and to the description as to who is who that inspired her. And while we wait for that to go ahead and pop up, Sister Lara J, has being able to witness your parents, your grandparents, and all those who have molded your journey today, has that helped shape your journey in other aspects of your life outside of your duties?
100%. So definitely like going
Mm.
to school and
Mhm.
going out into the world as, a young person, a young church member, I definitely was able to always carry that I am a choir member at all times and that my voice is an instrument that God had given me to use in serving him and in singing hymns to him. So because of that, and because I grew up just surrounded by all of those things, it's like during school, when people were listening to, festive music or
Mhm.
just the music of the world. In my head, what would be playing in my head was, our hymns and even especially our CWS hymns. And this
Mhm.
was before, we had unlimited data plans and all that and MP3 players. So it was just all of those hymns that I had committed to memory and they just played in my mind all the time.
Did you
But
ever catch yourself like, humming them whenever you were doing
100%.
something?
Yes, all of the time, especially if I was like, I got in a fight on the playground and, like, I was
Right.
sad afterwards. It was like, "It's okay, I'm strong." Um, but just to put some faces to names, so in this picture, my mom is wearing the green, her name is Maybelle Evangelista, and my grandma's wearing the black, her name is Loida Cruz, and they are in Winter Garden, Florida right now, and in this picture on the left side, my grandpa is Benjali Cruz, he's a deacon, and on the right side is my father, Brother Willie Evangelista, and then next to me in his CWS toga is my little brother, that's Enrico
Oh.
Dylan Evangelista. He is now a TSV officer in the local congregation of Winter Garden. So I'm very proud to see how he's grown from CWS choir to, TSV all in a matter of years just because of the
Mhm.
to fill the needs of the locale.
Okay. And what about this one? Are these
These are my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure you miss them really so much. And I when you were saying, it's so nice to be able to see your brother grow up. I wasn't quite sure if you meant like physically, because I know I have younger brothers and they pretty much like tower over me now.
Oh my goodness, yes, and you can see it in the pictures, like, he's way taller than me now than he was in the picture with, yeah, so in this picture, he's taller than me.
He's already taller.
He's actually almost taller than my dad. But yeah, and then in, like, the one of the previous pictures with all of us in it where he's wearing the CWS toga, he's actually
Mhm.
shorter than me in that picture, so he's definitely growing fast.
All right. So I think it's really, really nice that you're able to share the stories. I think even from being able to prepare 3 hours early, right, for worship service. I think that would have also transpired to like how you prepare yourself maybe for work or for school, making sure that you have everything ready before you get out the door, and then being ready to like hit the ground running from then on. And that's just like a small aspect to how else it has impacted your life. Has it caused you to even like being able to perform together? It's like you also witness like the trials that you personally endeavor, that you're able to kind of like combat that on your own outside in the world.
I definitely think that performing together, especially in the midst of like hardship and trials, or even just struggles that you endure as a family, whether you're grieving a family a loss, or maybe someone in the family is sick, it's when you all perform together, it's always like we still have this, we still have strength in this, and
Mhm.
we can still, even if we're in the worship service and we're performing together, we're meditating together, we might not be, having a devotional prayer together in the moment, but we still feel connected, being
Yes.
able to perform together through family trials,
Mhm.
But even like before I was in the choir and when I was very young and attending the worship service and it was my parents and my grandparents in the choir loft, maybe it was like I didn't know what they were going through. And at a young age, it's just, you look up into the choir loft and you just see your parents meditating, and sometimes you see them crying, sometimes you see them just really praying very hard, or even during
Mhm.
singing, you see how they feel and experience the Holy Spirit. And I think that at a young age, you never really know what your parents are going through. They try to have the strong face and be strong for the kids, right? So, but watching them be able to tackle and rely on God through everything that they go through, everything that even I didn't know they were going through, it
Mhm.
definitely ingrained that trust in me at a young age, and it's like, this is it, like, this is the stand, like, whenever you go through something, you just pray, and everything is
Mhm.
gonna be okay. No
Right.
matter what, you just pray, and no matter what, you just perform, you keep performing. So, yeah.
That's wonderful to be able to have that kind of mindset, that attitude, and that faith instilled at such a young age. It's not that, no one else can get to that point, but, to be able to get that at a young age, it kind of makes it a lot simpler, I think, in when you get to adult life, that, what was it? Go back to the basics. What was it that we had to do? Go to the default or the standard of, being able to pray, being able to perform our duty no matter what the circumstances are. And yeah, that will even push you. It's almost like a ripple effect that it will push you to even do better. But you know what? We're going to continue on discussion after our station break. When we return, everyone, we'll continue on discussing how our faith was amplified, inspired by another's journey. So please don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.
You are listening to Iglesia Ni Cristo Radio, the voice of truth.
Are you currently studying in university and are about to graduate in the next coming years? Are you feeling confident about your knowledge, whether your degree is in the sciences, in healthcare and allied health, education, even in business? Communication can even differ in different environments, like between our peers, our professors, and our co-workers and bosses as we enter our first full-time job. So, how can we put our best face forward? Join us as we learn how to put our best face forward as a new graduate on the next episode of INC Radio Australia this coming Sunday, April 21st at 3 p.m. Philippine time or 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Put your thinking caps on, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome back to INC Radio Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio. So that was INC Radio Australia. They'll be talking about how to put your best foot forward after graduation. Can you imagine? I feel like 2024 is so new, and yet May is right around the corner. So for all of those who are about to graduate or have graduated and still looking for that first step in your workforce, or you're in your field, make sure you tune into Australia. They might have some wonderful tips to go ahead and share with us as to how to put your best foot forward. Was it graduate edition? All right, so welcome back again, everyone. A couple of special greetings that we have today. So we have. Actually, let me go ahead and read a couple of those who have tuned in. A lot of us have tuned in so far. So Sister Majin Dizon, Lizelle Soriano, Brother Tyler Worthen, Sister Lena Castigliones, Brother Alfred Trinidad. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Good morning. And for those who are tuning in from the 24-hour link, I think we have Sister Kathleah tuning in from New Jersey, and Dahlia De La Cruz tuning in from Bangna, Thailand. I'm so sorry if I butchered the location. And so thank you so much. And, I do want to go ahead and read a couple of the comments that have tuned in so far. So Sister Nidal Nabara, she says, definitely my family's actions speak louder than words. Seeing my family go through the tough times inspires me every day that I too can overcome my own trials. Sister Eliza Mohuka also said, growing up, my parents would always tell my sister and I stories about their faith, and they were very inspiring. And then Sister Roselle says, my mom and our family together with our life experiences made us more together and hold on stronger in our faith. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those parts of your stories, sisters. And we hope that all of our audience tuning in a YouTube live chat can go ahead and share their stories as well. How another's journey was able to inspire your faith. Oh, and a special greeting. Sister Nidal says, I want to greet my two amazing funkles, fun uncles, Albert Benaventura and Kenneth Lord, a happy birthday. Happy birthday, everyone. And Sister Eliza Mojica says, I want to greet Sister Lizelle Ramirez, that's my cousin, a happy birthday from the local congregation of Temple Hills. That's awesome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and jump right back into our discussion. Sister Larde was able to share who inspired her faith and how that was able to mold her in various aspects of her life today. So we're going to jump right back in, Sister Larde, with the journey of with others, helping strengthen your faith. How do you think this has particularly affected your relationship with others? Has it improved your relationship? Has it strained it? Whether it's family, coworkers, anyone.
So I think that growing up with relationships that were a green flag or that were, you know, instrumental and that
Mhm.
positively influenced my faith, it made me more attuned growing up to relationships that maybe were could be detrimental to my faith or could
Hmm.
influence me in a negative way. I wouldn't say that it necessarily strained them, but
Hmm.
because I grew up with those role models and because I grew up with parents who were able to guide me through certain trials that I went through, and parents who, always encouraged and inspired me to put my duties first. It definitely gave me the perspective to see that, oh, maybe this relationship with this person who's telling me, oh, you spend too much time at church, or oh, you you're always at church. Like, why are you always at church? How come you can't hang out? Or how come you can't, come to these events and celebrate these holidays,
Hmm.
right? It definitely made me more attuned to that at a young age where, it's just regular conversation when, especially when you're talking to people who don't know the church yet, right?
Right.
It's just
Right.
regular conversation when you're in elementary school and you're on the playground, right? But growing up in conversation with people who have, the right mindset around things and who know the truth and who inspire you to be better in your faith every day, I think that just that helped me to identify which relationships were healthy, spiritually healthy, and spiritually
Mhm.
unhealthy. And it helped me to shift my perspective towards talking to people who were maybe not contributing positively to my faith, right? And shift the conversation like, oh, well, maybe if you attend this activity of ours, or if you hear this Bible study of ours, that'll probably answer your question, or that'll,
Right.
you'll see why, why I always put my duty first and why I always put church first, or why I don't celebrate this holiday.
Well, that's a wonderful tip, or even advice for those who may have like either family or friends who may not quite understand where it is that we're coming from because of how much we value our faith and our membership as well as our duties. Sometimes for those who have duties, that can also come off as misunderstood for those who aren't aware of the sacrifices that we make or why we sacrifice for them. But it's so much more fulfilling, or at least even more a full circle thing when they're finally able to kind of like see. I was like, oh, that's why. Or, I see that you're so dedicated to it. And I now respect that. But, I did want to ask you, when it comes to others, you said that it didn't exactly strain them, but were there others that maybe you feel have constantly reaffirmed your faith because of maybe how they perform their duties, and separate from your family, of course.
100%. I think that a lot of the friends and a lot of the people that I surround myself with, I'm starting to notice that they're all officers. And not only are they all officers, we're all like-minded, and we have similar, wishes in life, and those wishes are to, help the church and just
Yes.
spend our life serving and just helping others when they're down. So a lot of my friends, my fellow officers in the Kadiwa, my fellow officers even in the choir, I notice, right now I'm no longer performing with my family, right? Like they're all in the District of Florida and I'm here in
Mhm.
Washington D.C. So, but I don't feel alone, and I
Mhm,
still
mhm.
feel connected to my fellow officers, and I'm very grateful that I'm surrounded by so many Kadiwa members here who are active and who, I get to perform with on a weekly basis, and I still get to feel connected to people, and I still get to feel like when I'm down, I can always reach out. And, it's oddly enough, sometimes people think, oh, you need to, when someone reaches out to you and they're struggling, you have to inspire them. You have to be this motivational speaker, right? But oddly enough, it's when you're not the only one going through something, you're
Mm,
not the only one feeling the struggle, feeling, tired, feeling, like you're burning out or anything like that. When you're not the only one going through something, I think that's what can really provide comfort to someone
mhm.
who is
Feeling
going
not
through it
alone.
as well. Yeah, especially when it's your peers, and
Yeah.
especially when you're performing side by side with them on a weekly basis.
That's wonderful. And I think it also speaks to your character that you purposely chose to surround yourself with certain people, those that will help reaffirm your faith and, not deter you from, what it is that you value and prioritize or have valued and prioritized since your childhood days. With that said, looking in a different perspective, how do you hope your journey will inspire others, just in general? How do you hope that it will be able to maybe strengthen someone else's faith, or maybe just to simply give a better perspective to things?
I hope that my journey helps inspire people to live to inspire, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, so, we're surrounded by so many people every day, whether they be in the church or our coworkers and our friends at school. I hope that we all just kind of we know that our responsibility is to be a light in this world, right? So I hope that everyone just strives to inspire every day. And
Mhm.
maybe when you encounter people who could be detrimental to your faith, instead of, going to them and continuing to confide in them about the things that you're struggling with, maybe you just kind of see yourself more as a leader in the spiritual aspect. And you
Mhm.
see yourself as, maybe I'm not going to go to them for advice, but when they come to me for advice, I can always, make it my aim to point them in
Mhm.
the right direction, especially spiritually, especially with our fellow members in the church. But
Right.
other than that, I also hope that, you know all of us when we were younger, if we grew up in the church, all of us looked up into the choir loft during
Right.
the worship service, and all of us observed things. And I think that I just hope that, remembering that we all looked up to the people to the officers who performed when we
Right.
were younger, now that we're the ones performing in the worship service,
Mhm.
now that we're the CWS officers and the choir members, I hope that, it just serves as a reminder that there are always little eyes and young hearts that are watching us, and they're observing us and they're learning from us. So if we have certain habits or certain disciplines that they admire, maybe even without speaking to them, even without telling them, they just see us performing at a high quality,
Mhm.
it'll inspire them, even as young as they are, to start
Mhm.
performing in that way, or start fixing their hair in that way, or start holding their hymnal in that way, or start, sitting up straight in that way. Just the little things that the little eyes and the young hearts, they remember, because we remember what we saw, when
Mhm.
we remember the officers that we looked up to when we were young and CWS. So I hope that it inspires everyone to perform at the highest, every officer to perform at the highest quality that they can. Not, obviously, like the number one aim is to perform to bring glory to God, but also just keeping in mind that there are little ones that are learning from us at all times.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Solarj. I think that's it tends to be overlooked that children do see things, they observe a lot of things, and they absorb all the things that they surround themselves with. So if as much as possible that we can kind of ingrain in them, and not like I'm going to force this down your throat kind of way, but something that they naturally observe in their environment, that this is how we conduct ourselves, this is how we are, versus others that are in the world, because they're they have school, everyone has school, especially if you're going to public school, you're going to work, everyone is exposed to everyone else that's outside in the world, which is a wonderful experience, but also it can be quite scary when you feel alone in the world, because you are different and we're meant to be different, and that's okay, that's totally okay. So for us to be able to inspire young children and see how that can then make them be a better performer in their duties or become a better officer, I feel like that's one of the most rewarding things to see, even though it wasn't meant to be a reward to you, right? It's just something that it's like, oh, you know what, I feel really proud of like so and so, because they were in the CWS choir, the children's worship service choir, and now they're performing alongside me in the adult. That can be quite inspiring in itself. And thank you so much, Sister Large, for sharing your story. And I think from one choir member to another, it definitely has touched me as well, and hopefully others who have tuned in to INT Radio Washington, D.C. this morning. Do you have any personal greetings that you'd like to share today?
I would love, love, love to send my love to my family there in Winter Garden, Florida. I hope everyone's doing well in that locale. Also, my family in South Atlanta in Georgia, because, they also influenced my faith a lot growing up as well. So I hope everyone's safe and happy and healthy this weekend. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you so much. And a couple of other comments that we see in our YouTube live chat. Sister Lucy Ancheta from North Carolina, she says, all officers I see performing their holy task. Though some have struggles in life, they perform their duties. And that definitely shows conviction. Thank you so much, Sister Lucy. And then Sister Grace says, through trials and tribulations, all the more we are prayerful and feel closer to God. Also well said, Sister Grace. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we hope everyone else was inspired in today's story. But you know what? We're not quite done yet. So let's check out our recent district activities that have happened here in the unstoppable district of Washington, D.C., Mid Atlantic.
It was an action-packed and fun-filled career fair last Sunday. Brethren shared their broad range of professions ranging from military, law, education, engineering, science, medicine, technology, finance, and even the ministry. Brethren shared favorite aspects of their professions and even held demonstrations and games. Young attendees got to unfold the different career choices before them. Thanks to the District Christian Brotherhood International for hosting this event in celebration of its 55th anniversary.
I was actually present during the activity, and I must say it was very nice to be able to see all the different brethren in their various profession, even their uniforms, there at the career fair. So thank you so much, brethren, that participated in the Christian Brotherhood International Career Fair, because I think that may have inspired even the young children to see what it is that they would be interested in the future or when they grow up. And even those who, have already established careers and maybe thinking about maybe switching industries or switching into a different job, that may have helped them understand, like, okay, what else may be required, or just a glimpse of what it would be like. So thank you so much again to the Christian Brotherhood International of Washington, D.C., Mid-Atlantic. Coming up next here in our district, we have our district multimedia retraining seminar and socialization that's happening tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. at Washington, D.C.'s Function Hall. So please be sure to tune in. Those who are interested in photography, videography, script writing, editing, maybe graphics as well. Everyone is welcome to join us and learn a thing or two, because we're definitely trying to figure out who we can learn from, right? Especially in the media aspect. But for now, let's go ahead and check out what's happening here on INCRadio Washington, D.C. next week.
Dreading to see a layer of pollen sitting on your car? Struggling to manage the itching, sneezing, and sniffling the season tends to bring? Join us on INCRadio Washington, D.C. this Saturday on April 27 at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time to find how we can conquer our allergies this spring.
Oh, and before we forget, I'd like to go ahead and greet Sister. Thank you so much, Sister Lucy Anteza, for sharing your special greeting. She says, special birthday greetings to my brother Benjamin Dylan of local of Bagong Buhay, Ecclesiastical District of Central. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied this morning. But thank you everyone for tuning in again here on our discussion today for Faith Amplified. For their unstoppable support, we'd like to thank our INCRadio Washington, D.C. family for supporting our broadcast, especially to our district minister, Brother Sidney Santos, our station manager, Brother Arnel Solano, our subsidy president, Brother Angelo Manalo, and of course, a very special greeting to our executive minister of the Iglesianicristo Church of Christ, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in here on INCRadio Washington, D.C. Satellite Studio. Stay unstoppable.
Kilalanin ang mga bagong mukha ngayong April 23, 2024. 2 p.m. live on INCRadio YouTube channel. Abangan sa masayang tahanan.
This is INCRadio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
As a little girl, I always asked my mom, there's so many different gods. Who is really the true God? Why is there so many? What does the different gods represent? When it came to the Hinduism and with the different gods, we were told sometimes, don't ask any questions, just do what we tell you. My name is Sister Mala Hatman. I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. I am 42 years old. We were raised with the Hinduism religion. My mom taught me about praying. You pray to God and you ask God for His help, and God will help you. He will see you through. We would go to our regular Sunday worship in the temple. I always asked my mom, well, there's so many different gods. Who is really the true God? What does the different gods represent? Every time I asked my mom, they would just redirect us. They wouldn't really fully give us an answer of what the different gods is for, why we're worshiping them, and why we're doing the things that we do. When it came to the Hinduism and with the different gods, we were always told, hey, you're a child, don't ask any questions, just do what we tell you. On March 12, 1991, I moved here when I was 14, about to turn 15, in Jacksonville, Florida. It was a really big challenge because you're coming from a different world, entering another different world where English was not my first language. I started to get older in age. I started to ask even more questions. Do we still have to continue with the religion? And then my parents said, as we got older, we can make our own choices. As I got older, I started to question learning in a different world for me. There's so many different religions out there. Just by learning from everyone, I would ask their opinion, well, what do you do at your church? And there was so many different answers. So